Well, it's no secret the U.S. cattle supplies are low. Just how low? Well, according to USDA, the entire cattle inventory now sits at its smallest size in 75 years. And with supplies so tight, protecting the U.S. cattle herd is even more critical today. But there is a growing threat, and one that's raising the alarms among producers, as we show you in this weekend's Farm Journal report. For more than 40 years, Dylan Scoggins' family has built a business by the Mexico border, a business that relies on raising cattle, some of which historically came from Mexico.
We buy high-risk sale yard cattle. We used to buy cattle from Mexico. We buy them around 400 to 500 pounds and then get them straightened out and started pasturing about 20,000, 25,000 acres. So we have a pretty extensive stocker operation.
Raising cattle here is ripe with challenges and curveballs. And another one of those challenges came in November 2024, when USDA initially announced it would close the U.S.-Mexico border to imports of not only live cattle, but also bison and horses. It was due to the detection of New World screwworm in southern Mexico.
So initially, I kind of went through a little process here. I mean, initially I was like, why are they closing? It's winter months. It's not going to cross now. It's pretty far south. I didn't really like it just because that was a great source of cattle for us. And I knew it was going to prolong this shortage of cattle in the U.S. My ideas have kind of changed over time.
He says cattle are screened thoroughly at the border, and he thinks if New World screwworm does come to the U.S., it won't be via live cattle.
100%. It's going to be wildlife. Yeah, it's not going to be cattle. I mean, there's just no way. But if southern Mexican cattle are pushing north to fill up those spaces left by northern Mexico cattle going to the States, it might speed that process up.
And 3 hours north of Scoggins sits La Paloma Ranch, a family-owned working cattle ranch that also places a priority on hunting.
The screwworm, however, that is something that we really cannot control at all.
And an operation on high alert as the threat of New World screwworm grows.
What really concerns me is the wildlife, because from what our surveys say, we have anywhere between 300 and 400 deer on this property. And if you drive around, you may be lucky to see 20. So how to monitor that, I have no idea. That's going to be the bigger challenge.
But with wild hogs, birds, and other wildlife here as well, he says it's anything that has a heartbeat that could attract screwworm.
I'm worried about the cattle because that's definitely going to be a challenge to maintain the herd. We're probably going to have to reduce our numbers to where we can have only as much as we can check every day.
It's been 60 years since U.S. cattle producers had to intensely monitor and treat cattle for New World screwworm. And as the pest inches closer, Texas A&M's David Anderson says the long-term effects could be huge.
In many ways, how we produce cattle today is a function of not having screwworms. When we eradicated them, we don't have to be there every day all the time. And you know, you think the labor force, the working facilities, the things like that, you know, that's a huge amount of cost if we're going to go back to dealing with that all the time.
He says monitoring herds at that level could come with higher production costs for cattle.
And that's not going to contribute to a bigger herd and relief on consumer prices. If you're concerned about that, you know, that's just, I think it's a huge risk.
Just last week, Texas Governor Greg Abbott issued a statewide disaster declaration as a way to better equip the Texas New World screwworm response team. That's in order to prevent the potential spread of the New World screwworm fly into Texas, as also better protect livestock and wildlife. Farm Journal's Michelle Rook caught up with NCBA's Ethan Lane during Cattle Convention this week, asking if that disaster declaration will help.
Well, you know, I think that's sort of a formal starter's pistol that we often associate with a hurricane, right, or a flood, or a freeze, or something like that. This is the same kind of thing. This is the governor saying, hey, we're nearing the need to tap into extraordinary measures, extraordinary resources in state to make sure we protect our consumers, our producers, you know, our public from a looming threat.
USDA and other state officials have been working to keep New World screwworm out of the U.S. Last summer, USDA releasing a 5-point plan that including taking more action to stop the spread in Mexico, but also securing the border, utilizing sterile fly technology, and innovating new eradication methods. But those officials are also preparing in case New World screwworm would enter the U.S.
That's the process I think that's happening right now that USDA is leading to make sure that we have those plans in place so that it's not a surprise when we get to that point and we know what that's going to look like, and those producers have some certainty and some predictability about how they're going to move those animals through the supply chain.
With New World screwworm already detected within 70 to 120 miles of the U.S.-Mexico border, it's a threat for which the entire cattle industry should prepare, as protecting the already small U.S. cattle herd is a high priority. Well, cattle prices, they have been on a wild ride, and there's little sign of that volatility easing anytime soon. When we come back, Michelle Ruck joins us from Nashville to break down price projections and the key wild cards CattleFax is watching in the years ahead.